girls, and welcome to the second ever video of Dev Dispatch. This week, Zombie Studios, creator of Blacklight Retribution, has just announced the newest game that they have been working on. The game is named Special Forces Team X, of all things. The announcement was made on the G4 TV channel with Jared Garrison, the lead designer of Blacklight Retribution. The game has been dubbed a casual core game that will cater to the casual FPS gamers who just want to pick up a game and play it, and then put it down whenever they need to go take a dump. The game is a third-person shooter where players can vote on customized map segments and gameplay. According to Garrison, the game is expected to have their beta test on later this summer. Counter-Strike Global Offensive have just released their newest cinematic trailer. Not only that, developers have also released a toolkit guide for players that want to host their own dedicated servers. If you're into the competitive scene in CSGO, then you would be interested to know that there will be a PAX Prime tournament and an upcoming DreamHack tournament for the Counter-Strike scene. Additionally, the game will be released on the 21st of August for those of you that are interested. Recently on Team Fortress 2, a new co-op mode has been announced called Man vs. Machines. The objective for this is for 6 players to fight against hordes of mechanical nightmares in an attempt to stop them from deploying a bomb at your stronghold. Between each wave, you can upgrade your abilities and weapons. If you do manage to survive this though, you will have the chance to earn some sweet loot and a nice shiny medal to slap in your chest. Gamescom is currently underway, and if you're complaining about your games to the developers on Twitter or just sending them horrible emails, that's too bad, because they're currently getting completely rat-arsed up in the VIP suites at Gamescom. Gamescom is a trade fair show for video games and electrical entertainment. Most game developers and publishers fly out to Germany to set up some booths and showcase their games and other bits and pieces. The next upcoming game show will be PAX Prime, and you can expect to see many cool updates and beta announcements there. Thanks for watching, guys. Now we head over to WNxThundergun for our Let Me Tell You in 60.
Vamoose, son of a bitch. H to the Izzo, B to the Izzy. For shizzle, my nizzle used to dribble down in VA. H to the Izzo, B to the Izzy. That's the anthem, get your damn hands up. H to the Izzo, B to the Izzy. Not guilty, y'all got to feel me. H to the Izzo, B to the Izzy.
Hey there guys, WNxThundergun here, and let me tell you about Arctic Combat in 60 seconds. Arctic Combat is a Korean FPS currently hosted by WebZen. The game is also available in China and Thailand. It is having its second closed beta on the 22nd of August and features a competitive tournament hosted by Cybersports Network, where our community currently has a whopping 85 teams signed up to compete. WebZen has hired an esports manager at their company and has been working with Cybersports Network to provide multiple tournaments and a LAN event at QuakeCon. Right now, Arctic Combat has 2 qualifiers lined up for both Europe and North America, which will lead to national finals, and finally a world tournament where teams will be able to compete for 10,000 USD. As we speak, CSN is currently running the first North American qualifier, where teams will be forced to use their extensively tested anti-cheat system to prevent people from cheating in game. The first place prize will be a national final spot and 500 USD. That's it for Let Me Tell You in 60 seconds. If you want to learn more about Arctic Combat, check out our link below for the Cybersports Network interview with WebZen. Thundergun out.
Hello everyone, it's WNx Player, aka Larry, and today I bring you a very special interview with John Clark, Director of Operations for CSN. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. So first, please introduce yourself, sir.
I am John Clark. I'm the Director of Operations for the Cybersports Network.
Alright. So generally, what's exciting about CSN that's going on right now, John? What tournaments do you have that you want to tell us all about?
Well, we have a pretty good-sized Arctic Combat tournament coming up. We have Crossfire coming up. We have lots of StarCraft 2, some League of Legends stuff in the hopper, some Call of Duty for console. We have lots of things going on, actually.
Wow, that's definitely awesome to hear. So mainly for this interview, I want to talk a bit about Arctic Combat because
Sure.
Being a free-to-play gamer myself, I am also really interested in the scene. So, John, top 5 teams for the tournament, go.
Yeah, You're asking the wrong guy, to be absolutely honest with you. In fact, I'm not even sure that anyone. Well, there has been some talk. Apparently, there's a few teams that have signed up that were old Call of Duty 4 players. They had to put some teams together in the past. There's even some Counter-Strike teams apparently that have signed up. I know that the guys that know a lot more about the game than I do, as far as the history of it and whatnot, they have, or the history of some of these teams, they have actually been kind of contemplating who they think the top 5 teams are. But honestly, I'm not the person to ask in regards to that part. If this was my game, I guess, the game that I play the most of, I could probably tell you more. But my job is just to make sure the event goes well. So I have guys that could be running the event that can do a lot better job at understanding some of that than me.
Speaking of guys who are running an event, do you feel like you're a bit understaffed for the event? You got Tilt, Jorge, and Tim, 3 of a really good admin staff from CSN running the event. But right now, if I'm looking at your webpage, you have 82 teams signed up for this tournament out of 128 teams, which is huge. How do you think you're going to be a bit understaffed?
No, because I'll tell you why. Even though there's, and I'm trying to pull it up too, but even though it's awkward. Even though there's only that many teams, the issue will be that what will happen is probably at least 20 to 25 of those teams will just not show up, or they won't check in, which means that we can't add them to the bracket. So we'll probably end up somewhere around 60, 62, 63 teams that will end up playing in the actual event, which is perfectly manageable. Once the games get started and the first round gets going, the first round's usually the hairiest, just because you just got to make sure that everyone kind of knows what they're doing, that they find the brackets, that they're able to report scores. But I think after that, I think by the third round, things will be running quite smoothly. The only thing that will really get in our way is just disputes. Teams complaining about settings, complaining about another team, accusing another team of hacking, so on. But I think even that will not be quite as bad as maybe it is in other free to play FPS games.
All right, so John, being a very avid esports player like yourself, how do you feel about players like Talc, Flowsick, the Bears, and Hostel? All of these professional esport players coming to play in this Arctic Combat tournament, and Arctic Combat is a free to play game, folks, that is right now currently in closed beta, and they only had 1 closed beta so far. So what do you think about this? I want to hear your personal opinion on professional esport players to this.
Well, some of the names that you mentioned I actually have not heard of. I imagine a lot of them were probably from Counter-Strike days. De Beers, I do know. I've actually interviewed him before. I think it's great that he's getting involved. He is obviously considered one of the best first-person shooter players of all time, especially in any sort of team environment. He's a very solid player. He obviously gave a shot at Shoot Mania, and now I think he's just a good first-person shooter player. I think it's a great thing, actually. It's good to have, especially in an initial tournament. It's great to have some of these top players interested in the game, interested in the tournament. It will help draw in a lot of people to watch the event. It will draw in more teams that just want to have an opportunity to play against some of the best first-person shooter players in the world. And at the end of it, what it does is it looks great for Arctic Combat and the game itself. And I think it will draw a lot more people in. There's obviously going to be people, there's going to be rumblings and grumblings after the event or even during the event of some things that maybe the developers could have changed or made better, or there's going to be things that people are going to complain about. It's perfectly normal. But having some of these top guys make some of those complaints, I think carries a lot more weight, and hopefully some of those things will get changed with the developers.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Very good answer. So where a lot of us are wondering, how are you getting funding for this tournament? Are you getting it through live stream ads? How are you funding these tournaments? Because this is just a first qualifier. We also know you have a second qualifier coming up in before late September, and a third qualifier as well for a regional tournament. So how are you guys making money to do this?
Well, how CSN operates in general is that because we believe in our product so much, and our product is not the games that we run, it's not our website as much as it is our staff and the reach that we have and the connection that we have to different communities and so on. So the way that we operate, which is on a very, very low budget, most all of the pricing that is in any of our events comes either directly from the developer or it comes from sponsors. In this case, it comes from the developers. They're very interested in making this game, what it is, and in making it a viable esport. So by doing so, they came to us because they know that we run good tournaments, and I hope we don't disappoint. And that even if mistakes are made, we're quick to fix them, and we'll get right on top of it. We also believe that our website is very easy to use. The bracket system is very intuitive and easy as well to use. So I think all of those things it's just made a working relationship with the developers. And so when they wanted to invest in their own game, they came to us and said, "Hey, we're going to put up the cash pricing. We just need you guys to run it." So.
Okay. For a lot of tournaments, when they do it, it's kind of a one-time thing in a lot of free-play games. For example, Karma from I forgot what company it was. It was called Karma Online. They had a $600 Visa gift card tournament going on. And back in the IGJI days, when they had Genesis AD, they also had a tournament going on. And one thing that they had a mistake on doing was that they didn't follow up after the tournament. So their game died and the hype for all the tournament died. Now, I understand you still have 2 more qualifiers after this, but will CSN be following up on Arctic Combat after this regional tournament?
That really depends on the community itself. We are the only North American, well, actually, we're pretty much, at this point, the only gaming organization that still runs events for Quake Live. Which if maybe some of you know or not, but it's basically the granddaddy of esports. It's what basically it's getting us. It's having the reason we're having this conversation now is because of Quake. So we still run events for Quake because there's a community that's still interested in competing. Whether it's for $5 or $500, it doesn't matter. We will support games in which there's a community that's interested in competing, because that's what we do. We run online gaming competitions, whether it be for Yahoo, Pool, Bejeweled, Blitz, or Arctic Combat. It doesn't matter. So if the community is there and they're willing to put the time into making these events successful and being active and not, just signing up and never showing up, it's really up to the community ultimately. But CSN will continue to support it, especially if we continue to get support from the developers directly, because they're going to ask for our input. They're going to ask for things that we can do, that they're going to ask us for things that they can put into their game that makes running events easier, more presentable to viewers. That's where we can come in and help them. And as long as they're willing to continue to develop their game in a way in which it will benefit us, and as long as they're still paying the pricing, that's kind of important as well. The developer's going to see a good reason to continue to develop the game, and CSN is definitely going to see a reason to continue to support it.
That was exactly the answer I was looking for. Really, it's really good to hear you guys are supporting pretty much any game that you could, if there's money, that you guys can throw out there for just to foster the competitive community. That's very, very good to hear. So we're coming to an end here, so just one last question before you go. What is your organization looking from the community? Like, for example, Alan Tilt Donofrio. As you know, he's a shoutcaster. He's going to be the shoutcaster for Arctic Combat, and he wasn't with CSN before. He gave back to the community big time during the closed beta tournament when he was doing the shoutcast. So, are you looking for any more people like that? Or who are you guys looking that can contribute to the whole?
Absolutely. I mean, as a whole, what we need from the community is just support. I mean, 'cause they have to understand that this is just as much as this game is in development. If they want it to be a success, they have to be supportive and not destructive. So what they're going to need to do is if there are issues, if things if things come up, they need to understand that we're going to do our best to try to alleviate them, to try to fix them, and they need to be supportive of the entire process. Whether it be, something got into, something's in the game that's a glitch or an exploit, we need people, to understand and work with that it's not CSN's fault. It's not necessarily the developers of Arctic Combat. These things happen, and we need to just all be supportive if we want the game to rise up and be what I think it very well could be. And then as well as for CSN, we're always looking for good people that are willing to lend a hand, people that want to get involved, whether it be through shoutcasting, match write-ups, which is something I'm very much looking for, is people that are willing to, let's say we get to the quarterfinals, so we've got 8 teams left, and these are 8 very solid teams. It would be awesome for someone that would be willing to write up, like a pre-match write-up, like what's going to happen. Here's the matchups that are happening, kind of an analysis of it, and then a post-match write-up. Here's what happened. Here's what you can look for when you look at the VODs of the event, so on. So a lot of those things, anyone that's willing to just help the community grow. One of the reasons that Counter-Strike and Quake were so successful, and one of the reasons that today StarCraft 2 and League of Legends are so successful is because the community is very much involved. More so in StarCraft 2, which is why it's still holding. It's not dying off. I mean, it's definitely not as big as it was just a year and a half ago, but it's not going to die off because the community won't let that happen. And CS, Counter-Strike's been around a long, long time, and that's a lot to do with the community. And same with Quake. It doesn't matter so much that the big organizations aren't jumping on board to, have Arctic Combat at their big MLG event or whatever it may be. It's really about the community. They can keep it growing, and then, maybe it can get picked up. I mean, if CSN continues to run events for it, and it looks like it's catching on with a lot of people, it's very possible it could be one of the next FPS games that you see at a major live event. So.
Yeah, exactly what you said. Really, I also agree that the player base for the competitive community is the pillar stone for how far the game will go and how far the competitive, scene will go. So, we're running out of time here. So, John, any shout-outs before we go?
Shout out to the community itself. I hope to see things go very well. I can guarantee you there's going to be bumps in the road, but I think we'll work through them. Shout out to the guys at CSN that are helping make this happen, and shout out to Arctic Combat and the developers. I think it's a great opportunity to bring some fresh life into the first-person shooter area of things, and I think it'll be good.
All right. Well, that's it for today, guys. You can check out Cyber Sports Network at cyber-sports.net. I'm Larry, aka Player, and this is John. See you next time.
All right, thank you.